We hear the term artificial intelligence literally everywhere right now, in the news, in boardrooms, and in endless debates about the future. But for those of us who track the daily advancements of neural networks and large language models, we rarely pause to look at the historical and linguistic roots of the phrase itself. Today, we're going to bypass the hype cycle. We're going to uncover some fascinating historical context to understand what we are genuinely talking about when we say these two words.
Just 2 words, 9 syllables in total. It is beautifully, almost deceptively simple, isn't it? Yet there is an incredibly heavy philosophical weight resting right there in those letters. It's actually a little funny when you think about it, how much modern panic, excitement, sci-fi dread, and Wall Street frenzy is packed into just this tiny, unassuming phrase. We've basically taken the entire spectrum of human capability and mirrored it back at ourselves with these syllables.
So, what are we actually saying when we utter this phrase? I want you to really think about that for a second, because if we really want to grasp where this technology is heading, we have to start with the literal language we use to define it. Let's look past the algorithms and the data centers for just a moment and see where this all began.
Part 1. Defining the artificial.
Okay, the definition is super clear. Made or produced by humans, a synthetic mimic of nature. Notice the intentionality in that word artificial. It implies a mechanical, completely deliberate act. It is not organic. But our obsession with this concept definitely isn't new. Long before we had silicon chips, the ancient Greeks were dreaming up myths of automations, like Talos, a giant bronze man built to protect Europa. For centuries, humans have excelled at the artificial. We created artificial light to conquer the night. We created artificial flight to conquer the skies. In every single instance, the artificial is just humanity looking at nature, figuring out its mechanics, and then building our own synthetic version from scratch.
So we understand the how. We are fabricating something synthetically. But what exactly are we making this time? I mean, we've successfully mimicked light, heat, and motion. But this phrase, it asks us to mimic something entirely unseen, something profoundly complex.
Part 2. Unpacking intelligence.
Intelligence is defined as the capacity to process, learn, and apply knowledge. Think about how fundamentally different this is from the word artificial we just broke down. Processing and learning, those are fluid, organic, dynamic concepts. Historically, intelligence has belonged exclusively to the living. It's exactly why pioneers like Alan Turing spent so much effort trying to figure out how we could possibly test for it in a machine. Applying this warm biological capacity to something cold, rigid, and mechanical inherently sparks controversy. It forces us to ask if a machine is actually knowing something or if it's merely simulating the act of knowing.
Think about the deep separation between these two worlds. On one side, we have human cognition. It's driven by emotion, shaped by instinct, and inherently organic. It's messy, but it's brilliant. On the other side, we have the processing we traditionally associate with machines. Pure logic, relentless calculation, completely synthetic. For all of human history, these two columns have been entirely separate. Humans think, tools do. Humans decide, machines execute. The concept of artificial intelligence is the audacious attempt to drag the traits of that human column right over to the rigid structure of the machine column.
Part 3. The ultimate synthesis.
When these worlds finally merge, a very literal cognitive mimicry takes place. Step 1 is input. The synthetic construct receives data from the world, very much like our own human senses. Step 2 is processing. The machine applies logic and calculation to sort, learn, and understand that data, mimicking our organic brain capacity. It's actually fascinating to note that when computer scientist John McCarthy coined the term artificial intelligence back in 1956, which he did largely to secure funding for the Dartmouth workshop, by the way, it was to distinguish this specific processing pursuit from broader cybernetics. He wanted to focus squarely on the mimicking of human learning. And then, step 3 is output. It applies that knowledge to generate a response, an action, or solution. It is literally human creation meeting cognitive processing in a perfectly structured loop.
So the absolutely crucial point is this. When we say artificial intelligence, we are describing the ultimate combination of human artifice and logical output. It has synthetic origins, we built it. It features mimicked cognition, it processes like we do. It results in applied knowledge, it solves problems. Together, all of this forms the complete AI construct. It's not a fake intelligence. Rather, it is a very real capacity to process and learn. It just happens to be housed in a synthetic shell rather than a biological one.
Which leaves us with this final thought to ponder today. If the capacity to learn, process, and apply knowledge is genuinely happening, If the intelligence itself is real, does it actually matter that its origins are artificial? Does the source of the spark change the brightness of the light? It's a massive question that challenges our very definition of what it means to think and what it means to be a creator. Thank you so much for joining me on this explainer today. Keep exploring, keep questioning the words you hear every single day, and I'll catch you next time.